Now it is saying that go to the root directory. So let me just get inside my root directory, which is sudo-i. And now let me just check whether that Docker container, Docker, not the Docker container, Docker has installed it or not. Then and then only I can create the Docker containers. So let me check by using Docker version. If it is not there, I need to do the same steps again. So now this version is already there and this is creating the Docker engine for me. And now I can easily call my images from the Docker Hub and I can easily create the containers from that. So first of all, either you can go with this, call the image and then create a container. You can do like this, or otherwise inside the container creation command only, you can call the image. You can do that part as well. Now here we are going to do it.
So maybe what is the benefit of doing the first one? Like any difference or any benefits?
No. There is no benefit and no difference.
Okay.
Either you can call that image or either you can just call that image inside the container as well. That is up to you.
Okay.
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 In both the cases, your image will be pulled into your virtual machine. So now, in order to create the container, what is the command? Docker container run command, right? So here we have a Docker container run command. Let me just okay. So this is my Docker container run command. Now after that, what I need to do? I need to provide -d. Why -d? For the detach mode. Otherwise, it will run it over here. I don't want to run it over here. So it will run in the backend and I will fetch it from somewhere, from my public IP address. Now, after that, you need to provide the port mapping. Now, what is mean by the port mapping? So let's say this is my virtual machine. So by opening the port of my virtual machine, let's say this is my virtual machine. If I'm getting inside the networking, so I can open the port, which is the 80 or 443 port. So let's say if I'm adding that and instead of 80 and 443, let me just allow all. So here I can just put that star mark, which is allow all. And here I can just put allow all and then add it. Okay. So whenever I'm doing this, then what will happen? I can access if the web server is hosted on my virtual machine. By using the public IP address, I can access if the web server is hosted on my virtual machine. It means by using the public IP address, I can reach out to this one only. But my web server is not hosted on my virtual machine. It is hosted inside my container. So how to access that? By using the public IP address, I can reach out to this boundary only. So in order to access the container, I need a bridge. So this is what this is called as a bridge, or this is also called as a port mapping. So like that in your hotels, there are some rooms, right? So this is the host, means the hotel, and inside that we have a multiple rooms which are having that separate key and separate isolated space. So something like that. So which is having that number, let's say 8080 number, or let's say you can just put that 9000 number, or you can just put that 9001 number. So these are the numbers, port mapping numbers. So if I am accessing public IP address with 8080 number port, then I can access the container number 1 only. If instead of that, if I'm accessing 9000, then I can access a container number 2. If instead of that I'm accessing the 9001, then I'm accessing container number 3. So this bridge in between the host and the container is given by the port mapping. So here also I need to add that port mapping. So I can just add that port mapping by -p. After that, so I can just choose that port mapping, which is that 8080, anything, 1000, 2000, anything, whatever you want. Now here I can expose it on the 80 number port. From where you can access it? So on that 80 number port, I can access it, right? So this is my 80 number port. After that, at the end, for any container, whenever you want to create a container, for every command, you need to put your image at the end, always. So let's say if I'm accessing Nginx, then I can choose that. See here, Nginx, and then enter it. So what it is doing? First of all, it is pulling the image from the library. It is pulling that image, and after that, it is creating that container. See here, this is the container. So once it installed the image, see here, downloaded newer image from Nginx and latest, and then only it will create a container. Now, how to check that? So you can just search for Docker image ls. You will get this image. Now this image is pulled into my virtual machine. Now, if I'm saying that Docker container ls, so see here, this, where is that? Okay, the command is wrong. See here, this is my container. Now, if I want to access it, so I cannot access it directly from the public IP address. Let me just check that. What I have said, I cannot access it by using the normal public IP address. I need to use public IP address with that port mapping number. So let me just check first whether I can access it or not from that public IP address. So let me just get inside over here and let me just access it. Let's try to access it. I cannot do that. Now, if I'm using that port mapping, which is 8080, and then hit. See here, welcome to Nginx. Is this clear? How to access the container? Is this clear? What is meant by port mapping and all?
Right, Manoj.
Okay. Now you already know about that. If it is written something in the backend, it should be accessing the index.html page. So in my virtual machine, if you remember when we have installed the IIS page on the virtual machine, then my index.html page should be in a intpub folder. Inside that intpub folder, there is a www root folder, and inside that we can install the index.html page. So now here, how to search for that index.html page? So that index.html page is inside my container. Now where I am right now, I am inside my virtual machine. So if you want to get inside your container, then there is a command which is interactive terminal, which is called as a interactive terminal. So you need to execute that command. So I can execute that command, docker exec, execute, and then interactive terminal ID. And then for with whom you want to interact. So this is my container ID. I want to interact with this. So I can just paste it, and then how you want to connect with that? By using the bin bash, bin/bash, because we are using the bash only. So you can just enter it. See here. Now you are getting inside that container. Now, if I'm using ls, these are the files and folders are present inside my container. Only these few. So that's why that container is a lightweight in a nature, because you don't need to install each and everything like a guest OS. You can only use what is your entry point and what is your files and each and every environment. That's it. Done. Whatever required to create the application. That's it. Now these are the folders. Now where is my index.html page? I don't know. So you need to get inside each and every folder and then you can just search it. But as I already done it multiple times, I know that flow. So I can just get inside that CD USR. See here, there is a USR. You can just get inside that. If you are using ls, there is a share folder. See here, there is a share folder. So let me just get inside that share folder. And if I'm using ls, there is a nginx folder. Nginx, somewhere there is an nginx folder. See here, this one. So let me just get inside that nginx folder. And then ls. So here we have a HTML folder. So let me get inside that HTML folder. And if I'm using ls, here we will get that index.html page. If you want to check what is inside that index.html page, then you can just choose that HTML and then search for it. See here, this is the code behind the scene, right? If you see this page, the Nginx web server is successfully installed. See here, if you see this page, then Nginx web server has successfully installed, right? So this is the page behind the scene. Now let's say if I already have my code and I want to add that code. So you can just use the vi for that, vi command, or simple. I just don't want this kind of thing. I want to send some sentence. Okay, hi everyone, my name is Madhvi. Then what to do? So first of all, I need to delete my this index.html page. So how to delete that index.html page? So you can delete it by using rm command, by using remove command, which is rm, remove index.html page. Done. If you are using the ls, see here, gone. If you want to create a new, then inside our web application also we have talked about, you can use touch command. Index.html page, right? Now, if I'm using that, see here, it is there, index.html page, but it's a blank page. So I need to add something into that. So I can use echo command, echo, hi all, we are learning Docker container. Okay, so this part is done. Now I want to put it inside the index.html page. If you want to check it, then you can use cat command, index.html. So see here, it is working. If I'm going over here and then refresh that page, see here, hi all, we are learning Docker container. So like that, you can manipulate that code. You can manipulate that code. And if you want to go exit from that particular container and go back to the virtual machine, you can simply say exit. See here, now you're coming back to the virtual machine. So like that, you can create a multiple containers inside your virtual machine, right? Is this clear how to create that containers?
Yes, Madhuri. So in that case, the way we have created one, we can again create the second and third as well, right?
Yes, yes, yes. See here, by using this image,
Yeah.
Docker image ls. Now I can create a multiple containers.
Okay.
If I want to add one more image, I can do that also.
Right.
And I can create some more containers.
Got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
So now this part is done. But the
Yes.
main concern is every time that image is coming from Docker Hub, which is the public
Yeah.
Is the open source. And if you see that, observe that this 2 weeks ago, somebody has update that particular Nginx image 2 weeks ago. Now, whenever this is happened, let's say the programmers or the developers from the Docker Hub, they are just updating that data, right? Updating that image. Maybe that image is working fine with my application before a month. But today, again, I am accessing it from the Docker Hub only, and today it is facing some issue. I don't know what is happening over there because I used the same image last month and it works fine with my application. So today I just use the same steps, everything, then also it won't work. Because of this, somebody has updated some of the things over here, and this is 2 weeks ago. Then what? How I can get that? So for this reason, best way, don't depend on the public one or don't depend on the open sources. For the first time, you can depend on the public one or the open sources. And then once it is working fine, you can make your own repository, which is your private repository. So if before 1 month I stored that particular image in my repository, so I don't need to worry about that updates and all. I can use that image in order to run my application, right? So that's why the private repository is very, very important. So for most of the organizations and all, they are using the private repositories only. Instead of the public repository, they are using the private repository. Now, if I want to create the private repository or image gallery, then inside the portal, I can search for container. I can just search for container, and here we have a container registry. So I can choose that container registry. And remember that here we are creating only the repository or the registry for the image gallery. Here we cannot create the containers. So let me just put it inside the RG day 6. Let me just put the name Madhvi registry. Like that. East US region is fine for me. Here you will be getting the basic one, standard one, and the premium one. Basic one is here with the small amount of space and which is not having the replication point of view. So if you remember, whenever there is a storage, Microsoft is replicating that data. And this is the best practice to replicate your data in the secondary region. If you are using the basic one, if you want to test the container registry, how it is working and all, then you can go with that basic one with the small amount of storage. Standard one give you 100 GB space. So you can go for that. But again, here also, you don't get a replication. Only the premium tier will give you the replication. If something went wrong with your primary region, you will be getting your data from the secondary region, right? So I can go with the standard one because this is a testing purpose only. So here networking part is only enabled for the premium tier. If you want to select the private one, that private option is only available for the premium tier, not for the basic tier and the standard tier. So right now you have only the public access. Encryption by default, Microsoft is doing the encryption. You don't need to worry about that. If you want to encrypt it by yourself, that option is again enabled in our premium tier. And then review and create it. Okay. So let's review and create it. Now, what we have a ACR, Azure Container Registry, where we are going to store our images. Now, if I want to store the images from the Docker Hub to the ACR, this option is not present. You cannot directly connect with the Docker Hub or you cannot pull the images from the Docker Hub directly. No. So what we can do? What is another option? So another option is you need to collect or you need to pull that image. See here, you need to pull that image into the virtual machine or somewhere. Maybe you can pull that image into the Cloud Shell, some space, any space. So here I'm going to pull that image inside my virtual machine, and then from my virtual machine, I will going to push that image into the ACR. So this is my push. Now ACR is the resource, virtual machine is the resource. Now in order to communicate between two resources, we need a connectivity. What we need? We need a connection. Without that connection, you cannot pull and push that data. You cannot push that particular image inside that ACR. Done? Now, another thing is whenever we are talking about the image is having the latest tag. Latest tag means what? Tagging is very important here. Latest means whenever I am saying that, okay, Nginx, pull, then it will by default take the latest version or the updated version. So if there are multiple other tags are there, you can just call that tags as well. So tagging is very important. It's a kind of, you can use the tag as a version or anything, whatever you want, you can just use that, right? Now here, I already have my container registry. See here, I just created my container registry. Now inside that container registry, here I'm going to store my repository. See here, there is a repository. And here I'm going to store my all repositories. But here there is no option to call that images from the Docker Hub, even not from the overview page as well. There's no option to install or call or pull that images. But here we have an access key. And you have to enable that access key. Then and then only you can search for that ACR. You can search for that ACR, or you can connect with the ACR. Otherwise, you cannot connect with that. Now, first of all, what I need to do, I need to make sure I need to clear it. Clear this. Now I'm inside that virtual machine, where I have my image, which is the Nginx image, right? Now here, what I can do, I can connect. First of all, this is my virtual machine. So first of all, I need to connect with my ACR. So how to connect with that? You can just use Docker login. What is that? Docker login. So to whom you need to log in? This is the login server. So you can log in with your login server and then enter. So it will ask you for the username. So you can just copy that username. Just paste it, enter it. After that, it will ask you for the password. You can just copy that, paste it, enter. So see here, login succeeded. Now let me again check that my image is there or not. Image ls. Okay, this image is here. Now I need to add some tag for my image. Docker tag. Now what is mean by that? I need to give the path as well as I need to provide the tag. Like in the Docker Hub, there is an Nginx image and with the tag which is the latest. So I also need to put that inside the repository with the tag only, right? Because whenever we are creating any kind of application, it will ask you for the tag. So I need to provide the tag. So what will be my tag? So like that, you will be having the Nginx and the latest. Let me just add that Nginx as well as latest. Okay. So this is my image. Okay, let me just put that. So this is my Nginx and the latest. Like that, you will be having the path, which is the login server. Just take my login server. Inside that, create a Madhu folder. And inside that, put your image. Nginx And instead of the latest one, I will use the V1, which is the version 1 kind of thing. I can just choose that. And then I can enter it. So it is just giving you the path, which is a tag. We haven't pushed that code inside the repository. If you want to check that, you can just get inside the repository and just check it. See here, there is nothing. So now onwards, I'm going to say that Docker push. So this is my Docker push. And to where you need to push? Inside this one. So I can just paste that data. And which image is going to push inside that? Nginx letter. So I don't need to again put that data because I have already created a tag. So by using that push command, that particular Nginx latest tag will be pushed into that particular repository. Now I can get inside that and just refresh that page. I will get this Madhu and inside that Nginx. And here we have that version number 1, right? So from here, you can create the instance or you can create a web application or anything. Or if you want to check that version number 1 or the tag, then you will get that information. So this is a kind of a code, image code, right? Is this clear how we can push that image into the container registry? Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes, any doubts here?
So Madhavi, that every time if there is any changes or any updated latest version comes in, we have to do it in this way.
Yes.
Replacing.
So let's say whenever, let's say today, this is my last repository. Let's say I have uploaded that image before a month. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add one more image. Let's say I'm just pulling that image from the Nginx again, right? From the Docker Hub. And this is my latest version. So if I want to push that image into the another tag, I can just do that version number, another version number. So see here, I can make sure about this. Instead of the version number 1, I can just put that version number 2. And then I will do again the same things. So see here, this is a version number 1 instead of that version number 2, and then add it. So whenever there is a new change, I will go and create that. Right?
Okay.
Is this clear? I can just do that. So here, let me just get inside that. See here, now we have a version number 1 and 2. Done. But here we are creating only the image. So this is a repository. This is the image registry. But let's say if I want to create the container, do I need to every time create a container inside the virtual machine? So if I want to do that, then it is a wastage of my money then, right?
Right.
Wastage of my efforts. Because for this also, I need to create a virtual machine at least 4 GB RAM or 8 GB RAM. Then what is the use of that container? So instead of that, you can create a separate resource which is called as ACI. What is the name? ACI. If you don't want to go with this one or anything, you can just simply want to create a simple virtual, you want to create a simple instance for the container, you can go for the ACI. Now there are the benefits when we can choose that virtual machine and when we can create the containers inside that. So if you want to create the monolithic environment, you can just go with that containers inside the virtual machine. But if you want to go with the microservices, you can go with the ACIs over here, right? So let me just get inside the ACI now.
So one question which I got missed, Madhavi, like as you said, once that the container we can restrict the container to particular space like 1 GB. So in case like we have got 3 containers and any of the containers need more space. So how to go ahead and
you cannot increase or decrease the size of it. Your
Okay.
question is correct. And this is a concern regarding with the containers.
Okay.
Because the issue is, if I'm saying that 1 GB for this particular container, and if that container reaches to the 80% or 90% of the percent CPU, your whole container got collapsed down.
Correct.
At that time, it will stop. So this is the main concern, because here we don't have a scale up and scale down option. We don't have a scale in and scale out option for the simple container.
Okay.
So for that, either you can create your container sorry, by using the web application, or either you can create your container by using the AKS,
Okay.
right? Because inside the web application, we have that option to scale up, scale down, and
Yeah.
scale in, scale out. Means it will at least create a multiple containers in the backend.
Okay.
So that option is present over there. And AKS is the best solution for that, for each and everything. So we are going to talk about that part as well in a while. Okay.